A security guy is shown in the movie's opening scene nervously unscrewing the vent screws with his bare hands. The sound of someone beating on the closed door surprised the guard. At last, he unlocked the vents and made his way inside. He did not notice the shadow of what appeared to be a big bear as he quickly left the room after crawling out of the vents. A buzzing sound came from behind the guard as he was attempting to open the door. The guard yelled in alarm as something approached him from behind. The guard was dead, a mechanical bear mask placed over his head, and all that could be heard were his cries of terror while he was shackled to a chair. While purchasing an ice cream for himself, Mal policeman Mike Schmidt observed a youngster alone. When Mike noticed a guy approaching the youngster and taking the ladder somewhere else, he continued to watch the boy. Mike went after them, thinking the man was a kidnapper, and tackled him into the water, pummeling him mercilessly. When Mike's colleague dragged him away from the man, he came to understand that the man was, in fact, the child's father. Following the incident, Mike went to see Steve Rajan, a professional counselor, to seek assistance, but the counselor turned him down since Mike had a history of being dismissed for a variety of offenses, including insubordination. Steve appeared to realize something when he read Mike's entire name, and he chose to offer Mike a position as a night watchman at an abandoned diner known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Mike turned down the job offer since he couldn't work nights due to Abby, his younger sister. Even so, Steve gave Mike his call card in case he had second thoughts. When Mike returned home, Max, a Bice babysitter, left as well. Abby was painting again when Mike went to check on her in her room. He inquired about the painting, to which Abby replied that the people she had drawn were her friends. Mike went to sleep in his room after that. Mike dreamed of what had transpired years before as he slept. Mike saw his younger brother Garrett taken hostage by an unidentified stranger. When Mike was younger, he chased after the automobile. Later, when Mike was older, he was heard calling out his brother's name as he watched the car drive away from him. The following day, Mike ran into Dr. Lillian and his cunning Aunt Jane, who was going to take Abby into her care so she could continue to get child support payments when Jane departed. Dr. Lillian reassured Mike that Abby would rather stay with him than his aunt and suggested that he start looking for a new job right now to prevent Abby from being taken away from him. Taking Dr. Lillian's counsel to heart, Mike gave Steve Radlin a call and accepted the position on his first night of work. In control and sound asleep, Mike dreamed about his brother's departure once more. However, this time, as he turned to face the dream, he saw 5 youngsters looking at him and standing still. When the kids didn't respond when he inquired whether they had seen the man who had abducted his brother, they rapidly rushed away, and Mike pursued after the blonde boy before tripping and suddenly waking up the following day while Jane was chatting with Max and her brother Jeff. Jeff proposed damaging Mike's office so that the latter would lose his job. Max had been spying on Mike to see if they could use anything against him so Jane could obtain Abby, but she never discovered anything helpful. Once more, Mike was dreaming and sleeping on his second night of work. This time, Mike was being chased by a different youngster when the latter struck him with a hook, cutting his arm. Mike turned to face the youngster again, and as he did, the latter erupted in a black ink explosion. After the electricity was rectified, Mike walked to the power generator after waking up to the sound of malfunctioning electricity. He didn't notice the messages on the mirror or the animatronic mascot, Foxy, standing by the open door. Vanessa Shelley, a female police officer, stopped by the diner. She had been going there sometimes. Mike was assisted by Vanessa in bandaging the injury on his arm. Vanessa notes that security hires at Freddy's never last because, in addition to the low pay, there was a lot of press coverage about children going missing at Freddy's in the 1980s, which led to the establishment being shut down. The following day, after Mike's shift, Jeff and his friends Carl and Hank broke into the establishment and destroyed everything. The animatronic characters Mr. Cupcake and Chica the Chicken killed Carl while he was in the kitchen. When Hank realized what was going on, he fled and entered a storage area, where Bonnie the rabbit murdered him. Seeing Hank fleeing through the CCTV, Jeff rushed to investigate and made an attempt to get away. His death was certain the moment he spotted Bonnie since he was trapped by Foxy, the pirate Max who was assigned as the group's driver. Foxy had been waiting outside for some time and had made the decision to hunt for Jeff and his pals inside the cafe. She followed a child she noticed inside the room where the mascots were made. Max was curiously approaching Golden Freddy, the mascot, when all of a sudden, Golden Freddy's hand came out of his mouth and dragged Max, murdering her. After informing Mike that someone had broken into Freddy's house, Vanessa went to his house to show him the sleeping tablets he had left in the control room. Mike admitted to Vanessa that he had been using sleeping tablets to enable him to dream about Grant's ordeal and to see the face of the man's face who had abducted his brother. On his third night of work, Mike took Abby to Freddy's with him since he couldn't get in touch with Max. Mike knew that he had seen the man's face, but those memories were already buried deep inside. Abby cleaned the entire space and put up a port while Mike completed his work. After taking sleeping medication, Mike dreamed about the blonde lad and questioned him about his knowledge, offering to fulfill his wishes. A girl's scream caught Mike's attention momentarily, and when he turned around to look again, the boy had vanished and a mascot sketch was lying on the floor. When Mike awoke, he saw that Abby had left the port. When he went to retrieve Abby after hearing her cry, he discovered that she was playing with the moving mascots. The fact that the mascots were moving on their own alarmed Mike, but he took no action that might encourage the mascots to attack them before they departed. Abby gave her heart-shaped picture to Ed Bonnie and gave Golden Freddy a hug. On returning home, Mike noticed that Abby had sketched kids that looked a lot like the mascots from her earlier drawings. Then he noticed a sketch depicting the moment Garrett was abducted, and when he confronted Abby about it, she said that she had heard about it from the blonde lad. When Mike inquired about the driver, Abby replied that on his 4th night of work, the only thing a blonde lad had told her was about a yellow bunny. When Mike took Abby back, they noticed Vanessa's police vehicle. Before entering, Abby said her pals had told her that Vanessa was kind. She then went to welcome Vanessa and her animatronic buddies. Mike found out that Vanessa had previously been aware that the mascots had been owned by a group of kids. Abby recommended creating a huge port that could accommodate everyone, and with the mascots' assistance, they carried out her advice. After leaving Abby with the mascots to have their port roofed, Mike and Vanessa asked Vanessa if she knew anything else about the cafe. Vanessa questioned Mike about why he brought Abby along once more while being aware that the mascots were still alive, refusing to respond. In their conversation, Mike revealed that he had the impression that the kids with the mascots knew who had stolen Garrett, that his dreams are more vivid when he is at Freddy's, and that he has the power to alter Garrett's actual course of events. Vanessa attempted to stop Abby from touching Bonnie's guitar as soon as she noticed her approaching the stage, but it was too late since the instrument abruptly exploded. After regaining consciousness, Abby was rendered unconscious. Vanessa threatened to shoot Mike if he brought Abby back to the diner ever again. Mike had another dream the following day after getting Jane to watch Abby while he went to work. In that dream, everything was different. The blonde boy informed him he could dream about this beautiful moment every night as long as he handed Abby to his family when he saw his family with Garrett. Mindlessly, Mike consented, but as he touched Garrett's face, he saw his error and chose to retract his statement. However, as he turned around, everything had vanished. The kids suddenly attacked him as they ran towards him. He awoke to find himself chained to a chair and ready to have his face covered by a mechanical mask. After getting out of the chair, he retreated only to discover Max's head and the other people's lifeless bodies. Mike shouted in terror as he attempted to flee after hearing humming from behind him. After losing consciousness, he came to the realization that Vanessa had discovered him unconscious and severely injured in the diner and had brought him to a police outpost. Mike discovered that the mascots contained not just the spirits of the children but also their bodies. A guy who was able to control the ghost children, who were unable to recall anything that had occurred to them, slaughtered those kids. Vanessa revealed to Mike that William Atten, the killer, is the young girl's father and that he is the yellow rabbit in the photo. In the meantime, Golden Freddy kills Jane at Mike's house in order to abduct Abby, who accompanied him voluntarily since she trusted him. When Mike sneaks into the cafe to save Abby, he discovers that Golden Freddy and Bonnie are secretly leading her somewhere. The two mascots malfunctioned when Mike tasered the water that was put on the stage. Mike tossed Chica after running after her and Abby. The siblings fled, but Mr. Cupcake grabbed Mike's leg. Mike instructed Abby to go as he battled Mr. Cupcake. Foxy was after Abby while Mike was fending off Mr. Cupcake. As Vanessa shocked Foxy into submission, Abby was concealed beneath the ball pool. Mike, on the other hand, encountered the yellow bunny as he attempted to pursue Abby after successfully electrifying Mr. Cupcake. Mike was knocked down by the stronger yellow rabbit, who then came towards him with a knife, ready to kill him. Vanessa intervened and prevented the yellow rabbit from killing Mike. At that moment, the yellow rabbit removed his mask, revealing Steve Raglan, who was actually William Atten, while Vanessa was addressing her own father. When Mike awoke, he instructed Abby to sketch the true events surrounding the ghost children so that they could identify the true villain. After following instructions, Abby noticed that William had let go of Vanessa to approach her. However, Vanessa stopped William again, fearing that he would hurt another child and end up getting stabbed by her insane father. Meanwhile, Mike ran to the control room to fix the electricity. When Abby finished drawing, the light focused on the paper, and the ghost children realized that the drawing depicted the yellow rabbit killing children, and they turned against William. Using their animatronic suit control, the ghost children watched Abby, Mike, and Vanessa flee the supper as William suffered. After what had transpired, the ghost children were yanking a seriously injured William away. After being taken to the hospital, Vanessa has remained unconscious. Dr. Lillian also observed that throughout their meal together, Abby seemed to be much more excited and gave Mike a round of applause. Abby expressed concern about the ghost children, who currently have no one to care for them. William, meanwhile, was observed crying in agony within a restaurant room. With weakness, he extended his hand to the blonde lad who had been observing him through the door. The boy with the blonde hair carefully closed the door without a word. The epilogue scene features a cab driver who is seen sleeping in his vehicle. He hears the passenger door open and assumes it is a passenger. Since he had already finished working, he tells them to get out of the car. He turns to face the passenger seat and screams upon seeing the balloon.